I was hoping this would be less awkward the second time around, but it doesn't look like it. I think I need to sit up higher. Good? Okay. Welcome to my second YouTube video. My last video was just a very generic 40 facts about me, but now I think with this video you'll actually get to see what I want this channel to be. So I just want to say that I'm a student like you that's probably watching this, but I think I've learned a lot of things along the way and hopefully that can help you. So for me, I think it's really important not only to work hard in school and get good grades, get that 4.0 GPA that everyone wants, but also to do it efficiently, because you've probably heard this from teachers all the time, but it's not only your GPA that matters, it's not only your classes, but it's also your extracurriculars, what you do outside of school. And if you are not efficient with your schoolwork, you're not going to have time for all of that stuff. And maybe even more importantly, you're not going to have time for what makes you you, what you're passionate about. And so along the way, I've learned a bunch of things that help me work faster, work smarter, not harder, like my old chemistry teacher used to say, and it's honestly made my life a lot better. I used to be the kind of student that kind of blindly followed everything. I did whatever my teachers told me to do and did my best in it, tried to do extra credit. But then, especially as junior year rolled around, I realized there were other things that I really wanted to put time into, and that it just didn't make sense to put all of my effort into school when I could actually put a lot less effort into it and still get the same result that I wanted, which was an A basically. I definitely want to get a 4.0, but I want to do it in a way that requires the least effort. Alright, so I've got my list of stuff that I want to talk about all typed out. So I've organized this into when you're at school and when you're at home. The whole point of trying to be efficient is trying to get it done at school as much as possible so that it's not homework. So my first tip might be too obvious, but I think it requires a mention just because it is so important. Take advantage of the homework time that you get. It makes me so frustrated when I see people, they just go on their phone or they talk to their friends and they do nothing productive. And then those are the same people complaining about how they have to stay up late working on homework. So when the teacher gives you homework time, use it. Think about the work that you won't have to do at home if you get it done now. Number 2, you won't always get explicit homework time, and so make your own homework time. Sometimes, especially in math, the teacher will be going over something that's pretty easy to me and that I've already understood pretty well, and so I just take out my homework and start working on it. Now, some teachers get annoyed by that, but if you have a teacher like my math teacher who doesn't care, take charge of your own time. If what the teacher is talking about isn't useful to you and they're okay with you pulling out your work, start working on homework. Get ahead of the game. I just had a panic moment where I thought I didn't turn on the microphone, but it's on, so we're all good. Number 3, I don't know if I need to even keep counting these. Number 3 is when you are working on homework at school, try to knock out those little homeworks. That's usually things like your language homework, your Spanish or French, yeah, I don't know what other classes like that, to be honest, but when you have those little assignments that the teacher basically only gives to you to make sure that you're reviewing material, try to get those out of the way at school. And the reason is this. So like when you go home and you have a 5-minute Spanish worksheet or something, it's not going to take you 5 minutes because let's say you were doing math before, you have to switch your brain from math to Spanish, two very different languages, and you have to get all your Spanish out. You just have to completely reset your mind, and that takes time. So those transition periods, you want to try and eliminate them. And it doesn't really make sense to start on a long project because you're not going to get into that workflow, you're not going to get into that mental mode, and you're not going to get any real productive work done. Something that helps me be productive in class, now this doesn't really apply to classes where the teacher has a set out plan for you and you're constantly busy. The teacher will, for example, talk for half the class and then give you half of it to work on homework. Something that really helps me is writing out my intentions for the class before the class starts. So something I've started doing is bringing my boogie board where I can write things and erase them by pressing the button, which saves paper. I'll get to class and I'll basically write down what I want to work on. So I'll make a plan. So for example, I'll write down I want to try and finish my homework, and then if I finish my homework, I want to maybe pull out my laptop and do these tasks that I have to do for some club or some other class. And having that list just keeps me motivated because I really want to get through it, and it keeps me from having that moment where I don't know what to work on, because that's not good. You want to have a plan of action. I also bring earplugs to school. I started doing that a couple of months ago. For some reason, I used to feel awkward about that because no one else really wears earplugs at school. Everyone just either talks during work time or works, but they can tolerate the noise around them. And it's just something that I had to accept about myself, that I need as quiet as possible of an environment to be able to work. But bringing earplugs changed the game for me. I can put in my earplugs and just get completely in my zone and really get a lot of work done. If it helps you focus, do it. Do it for you. Don't worry about what you look like wearing earplugs, because now outside of class, moving on to lunchtime, in high school you probably have a pretty long lunch. At my school we have 50 minutes, and so that's more than I usually need to eat. I try to use my lunchtime intentionally, and please don't get mad at me for saying the word intentionally over and over, but I feel like it just applies to so many situations. That doesn't mean that I always am doing homework during lunch. That means that I decide what I want to do during lunch. So sometimes my brain needs a break. Sometimes I've been having a really stressful week, and so I'll decide that, okay, during this lunch hour, all I'm gonna do is focus on enjoying my time with friends, enjoying my lunch, and I don't need to worry about doing any work. But the important thing is that I've made that decision. I don't feel guilty about not doing homework. I don't try to pull out some homework but only half focus on it and then get nothing done, and also not give my full attention to my friends. I just decide that I'm gonna enjoy that time. And then there's other days where I actually have quite a bit of energy, and so I'll go to the library or something and try to get some of those short assignments out of the way. Just have a plan. I usually think about this in the morning when I'm looking at what I have to do for the day, or during my morning classes. I'll see how much homework my teachers are assigning me and what I'll want to do during lunch, whether it's working and making a dent in your homework or relaxing and refreshing your brain so you can work faster later. If you decide what you're gonna do, you're gonna have a productive lunch. Something you might want to do during lunch, but also during class, is talking to your teachers. Admittedly, I don't do this a ton. There are some teachers I'm kind of shy around and I don't talk to them a lot, but there are some classes, like especially English, where expectations for assignments aren't always super clear. But if you can talk to the teacher about what you're working on, show them the draft of what you've got so far, they can give you some really good advice, and they're the person who's grading, so you know that the advice they're gonna give you will help you get a better grade. Alright, let's move on to being at home. This might be the most important part because, I mean, it's homework. You might be able to get a good bit of it done at school, but chances are you're still going to be doing the bulk of it at home, whether you like it or not. So first, make a plan of attack. I just love planning, and planning can't solve everything, but it can solve a heck of a lot. If you go home and you just look at your pile of homework, you're probably going to feel a little overwhelmed. So it really helps to know what you're going to do and in what order you're going to do it. So when I get home, I look at my school planner and I just take a pencil and I write in little numbers. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what order I'm gonna do things in. It's like a plan of attack, you know? It makes you really wanna get down to it, get it done as quickly as possible. So when you're putting together your order, some things to consider are getting your hardest homework out of the way first. When you're just starting, you probably have the most energy and the most willpower, honestly, to do that stuff that really sucks. There's this concept out there called eat the frog. I don't remember the story behind it. There's some story. But basically the idea is most days you have some task on your to-do list that you're really dreading, and it's best for you to just get that done first. And so they say eat your frog first thing in the morning, and then you won't have to think about it for the rest of the day. But that also applies to getting home from school. So eat the frog, do your homework that's the hardest the first, and then by the time you've got that done and you're feeling pretty tired, all you've got left is the small, easy stuff. You also need to consider how, I guess, defined the homework is. I don't know if that's the best word, but basically I always do math homework first because It's a set of problems with a set process for doing each problem, and I can just get it done in about 30 minutes to an hour each time, whereas things like writing a report or studying for a test, they're much more open-ended, and so I don't want to start working on a report as the first piece of homework that I do and just let it take over my evening. I don't want to spend 2 hours on it and then be like, crap, I still have to do my math and everything else. So when you actually get to your homework, which is the important part, walking the walk, I highly recommend using the Pomodoro timer. Pomodoro, I'm not sure. The technique states that you should work in 25-minute chunks with 5-minute breaks. So you do 25-5, 25-5, 25-5, 25, and then you take a longer 20-minute break. Now, I don't follow that completely, but I do utilize the method of 25-minute chunks of working and then a few minutes of break time. This helps so much. I honestly, at this point, I can't understand how people work just long stretches of time because my brain gets exhausted. It's based on science. The 25 minutes is based on science. So taking that little break when your brain is starting to become tired and not working at its peak, it'll really keep you energized and it'll really delay the onset of fatigue that'll make homework go super slow. Another benefit of those 25 minutes is that you feel super motivated to really get down to work. You know that you have a break coming, so you want to make the most of the 25 minutes that you're spending working. Don't have any distractions around you, obviously, if you can. Do everything you can to make an environment for yourself that's conducive to working. So turn off the TV, put away your phone if you don't need it, close all distracting tabs on your computer. Just make that 25 minutes really worth it. And then when you take your break, you also got to make that worth it. So personally, I am amazed at how quickly the break goes by when I go on my phone and I'll just be like, oh, I'll check Instagram for a couple of minutes, that will be fun. And then 6 minutes go by and it felt like that. But if I avoid technology and I just get up and move around, break feels like forever. So avoid technology during your breaks. Get up and move, I think, is the most important thing. I will literally just go and do headstands. I don't know why it helps, maybe there's blood flowing to my head or something and that helps me think, but I do headstands, push-ups, just walk around my room, and then by the time I sit back down at my desk, I'm not feeling all stagnant and tired and blah. Next up, do the work, okay? Don't put it off. There are many classes where teachers will give you stuff, they'll give you a deadline far away in advance, and you have to figure out how you're gonna portion that out and get it done. It's tempting to leave it all to the last few days, but really try to break your work up into chunks. Do a chunk of reading, a chunk of notes every day. Not only will it feel less overwhelming, and less overwhelming means less stress, which means more productivity, you'll also learn it better because you're really taking the time to do it and you're doing it in a lower stress way. By the time you get to the test, you won't have to do as much studying because most of the material will already just naturally be in your head. You don't have to relearn things. You just do a quick review and that saves a lot of time. Speaking of studying less for tests, study efficiently. Maybe you have a natural talent for it or it's just an easy class. There are some classes like that. And it doesn't make sense to spend a lot of time trying to review and study for those classes. I used to really put a lot of work into studying. I had some experiences where I wasn't able to study for the test and I still did well, and I was like, maybe I should do that more often. On my freshman year history final, I mixed up my final schedule and I showed up all ready to take my Spanish final and found out 10 minutes before that I was actually taking my history final, which I had hardly reviewed for. We were allowed to prepare a notes sheet, so I scribbled some amendments onto a piece of paper and I got an A on that final. I saved so much time just because of that mix-up that I would have wasted otherwise studying for a test that I actually was able to do really well on without any preparation. So put your time where it's most needed. Recognize which classes you're struggling in, where you really need to review the material. But if you've got an easy class, just be grateful that you've got an easy class and take advantage of that by not putting a lot of time into it. While we're on the topic of not putting a lot of time into things where it's not necessary, my final tip is don't let homework creep into all of your time. And I think with that, I basically want to say that you have passions in life You have extracurriculars that hopefully you're excited about. Hopefully you're not doing them just to impress a college. You have things in your life that really excite you and are important to you and also contribute to your future. And you need to consciously make time for that. Homework and school can be very easy to get caught up in, especially if your friends are the kind who really stress out a lot about school and it takes up most of their time and their, I guess, headspace. It's most of what they think about. It can become easy to put those things that make you who you are on the back burner, and you don't want to do that. Like this year, I committed to getting back to blogging. And that was one of the best things I've ever done. And in order to do that, I had to make all of these changes that I just talked about. I had to make sure that I wasn't spending so much time on homework that I had no time left to dedicate to blogging. The result wasn't me doing bad in school, it was me continuing to do well in school, not getting exhausted by school, not getting as sick of school as I used to get, because I also had these things that I absolutely love doing and that were really contributing to my skills and giving me ideas for what I wanted to do in the future. I actually took it a step further and I decided to commit to not doing homework Fridays to Sundays. Now, there are obviously some weeks where this just doesn't work, but for most normal weeks, I've been able to achieve no homework from Friday all the way to Sunday. This has honestly been a game changer. You know how they say you need to have work-life balance? I feel like people just don't emphasize that as much with school, but it's still important. You need to have school-life balance. And so I really work hard to make sure that I can get things done Monday through Thursday. I use my class time, I try to work fast at home, do what's most important. And then Friday through Sunday, I have to blog and work on stuff for my extracurriculars and things like that. And having that clear separation really helps me be more effective in all aspects of my life because I have these defined times to work on those things. It also gives my brain a break. If I'm doing school and extracurriculars and blogging every single day, I'm gonna get exhausted, I'm gonna need but when I do homework Monday through Thursday and then I have Friday to Sunday to not do homework, I come back to school on Monday ready for the cycle to start again. It's also important, especially I think when you're in high school and you still have to take a lot of required core classes that don't necessarily pertain to what you want to do in the future. It's important to make sure that all that doesn't creep into what's truly important to you. Important to you in here. That's a good ending to the video, I think. So on my last video, the one with all the facts, I just kind of ended it abruptly. I was like, man, all these other YouTubers like have a nice conclusion where they ask people to subscribe and stuff. I should probably do that. So I'm gonna do that right now. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I've got a whole bunch of content already planned out. If you have any ideas for videos based on what I've talked about so far, which is only 2 videos, so you probably don't really have a sense of what my channel is gonna be about. But basically, I love planning, productivity, life tips, I guess. So if you have any ideas in that realm, comment below and I can always use some more ideas for my big list that I've started. Also, let me know what you do to be efficient with school. What do you do at school? What do you do when you're at home working on homework? And why is it important to you that you are efficient with schoolwork? What is it in your life that you want to make more time for? So yeah, that's all from me. I think that's all I wanted to say. Yeah, bye. I'll get better at endings, yeah.